Back is Dorsey to throw. Yeah! He throws it in the end zone.
Off to the races. Can they catch it? Cuts it back. Ohio State wins.
The Ohio State of Mind podcast, hosted by Josh Keeley and Chris Ryan.
Welcome to the Ohio State of Mind podcast. This is episode 54. I am your host, Josh Keatley. Our producer, Chris Running, he couldn't be here tonight. He has to celebrate birthdays for family members, but he did put together this lovely background or whatever you want to call it. I'm not nearly intelligent enough to figure that out, but it is episode number 54. He put together 4 photos of guys that I think he nailed it too. I mean, these are, I honestly, I only thought of the 3. So obviously, we have Tim Anderson to your bottom right. Tim Anderson was a former state championship wrestler. Went to, I think he was a relatively sought after high recruit. He played, back in the old days in the Big 33 game when the All Ohio kids would play the All Pennsylvania kids. Obviously defensive tackle for the national championship team, went on to be a 3rd round pick by the Buffalo Bills in the NFL, and had a decent career. I think he's coaching wrestling back at his old high school too. So, obviously Chris picked out a photo where he's tackling Ken Dorsey. So it was played a vital role in that national championship squad. To the upper left, you have John Simon. I think everybody here probably remembers John Simon. He was a little bit of he was kind of a tweener. As you can see, he's standing up in the photo that Chris took in this because he wasn't quite a defensive end, wasn't quite an outside linebacker. I would definitely classify him as a defensive end for Ohio State. Went on to have a pretty successful NFL career with the Baltimore Ravens and New England Patriots as kind of an outside linebacker tweener. Was in the NFL for quite some time, too. I think he was all Big Ten a couple times. Let's see here. Billy Price is to your upper right. That's probably, if you would ask me who's my favorite number 54 of all time, it probably would be Billy Price. He was a guy really went under. He kind of is underrated in the grand scheme of that national championship run that they had. He was like a 1st round pick too by the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously his NFL career didn't really turn out the way he thought it would, or we all thought it would, but there's no denying that for Ohio State, he played a pivotal role in that. And then in the bottom left, Chris went ahead and used Ken Kuhn, which I think is a good one. I think there's been 3 Kuhns that played for Ohio State. And, we talked about him briefly last week with the 53 number with Randy Gradishar, because that's one of the greatest linebacker corps in Ohio State history was Randy Gradishar, Rick Middleton, and Ken Kuhn, who was a sophomore when those guys were seniors. And Ken Kuhn also went on to be a 7th round draft pick by the Cincinnati Bengals. So you had 2 first rounders and a 7th rounder in that linebacker unit. So that to me definitely warrants selection. I'm just kind of surprised he went with it. But obviously it's Michigan week. Ohio State's going to play the team up north. And do we have a Donovan James joining us here? Hey, yeah, Donovan,
how's it going?
Going all right, man. And joining me now is Donovan James of Hoosier State of Mind. He was with us last week, and thank God he's with us this week because I am not good at doing the solo thing, brother.
Oh yeah, I see you're by yourself, man. Where's your sidekick? Where's your co-host?
Chris has like a family dinner, but look,
Mr. Chris Runyon, yeah.
Yeah, but he put together this nice slide. He's got another slide for us for the Big Ten games. But before we dive into the Michigan game,
I'm trying to make sure I have nothing in my teeth because I just got done eating. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But
before we talk about the Michigan game, I wanted to go back and review the Ohio State game. So I'm going to give. Did you get a chance to? I mean, obviously you watched it, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I actually rewatched it today. So
cool. So I'm going to give my 2 cents on what happened. Whatever you feel free to jump in or argue with me or whatever you think. I'm going to go over the offense first, and you can kind of tell me where I'm right, where I'm wrong. I'm going to discuss more Ohio State than Indiana, but tell me
Okay.
what you think. As far as the quarterback position goes, I thought Will Howard played great. We talked about it last week. I feel like he's super underrated. This is the third game where he's played somebody in the top 5, and he looked great again. He's super efficient. This is 6th game where he's completed over 80% of his passes, which is not only a school record for the season, but it's also a career record. And there's still some games left, so that's pretty impressive. And I don't think he disappoints. As far as the running backs go, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, they do what they do. You'd like to see them pop more. I kept thinking that a big run was going to pop, and it just never really did. Travion Henderson popped a big one at the end, but that was kind of when Indiana rolled over, in my opinion. So I thought Indiana did a good job of bottling them up. Like I said, they didn't pop it like I thought they would. As far as the receivers go, I thought the receivers played really well. Cardell Tate is slowly becoming the new number 1 in that offense. He seemed to be open every play. Jeremiah Smith was open a lot too. I know that he didn't get a lot of looks. He was open a lot. I'm kind of surprised that Will didn't look to him more often, but maybe that was all part of the design. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the receivers. The offensive line, I'm extremely happy with. With Seth McLaughlin went down earlier in the week with an injury, a lot of people were panicking. Carson Hinsman, people forget he started all 12 games there last year, stepped in again. Looks like he's even better than he was last year. And then Austin Several played in his role at the left guard and also played well. Honestly, the 2 guys that didn't start the beginning of the year, they were the 2 best offensive linemen, I thought. I do have some complaints on the offensive line, though. Tegra Shabola, he does what Tegra Shabola does. It's not that he played bad. I don't think he's a liability. It's just it's surprising that he's not body bagging more guys. It's surprising that he's not creating a lot of space. He's not creating any push. It's surprising that he's the weak link, considering he was the former 4-star recruit, and he's got to be the biggest guy on that offensive line. But that's kind of my takeaway with the offense. But Donovan, what do you think?
Yeah, and I got it wrong too. I should have asked you first because I thought Carson Hinsman did play all 12 games last year. I thought Joshua Padilla was going to start, but he didn't, which is probably a good move that Carson started right over Padilla. Yeah. Who I liked Padilla a lot coming out of high school. I mean,
yeah,
but Carson's the one with all the experience, and that wasn't a problem for them. It was pretty easy day at the Horseshoe. You were there. I know you were sending me videos. Shout out to Josh Keatley, by the way. Did a 2-part interview with him, and he was there like he is at every home game, doing his job and damn good at it. So congratulations to you and Ohio State Buckeyes. As far as Indiana goes, it was tough, man. Talking to a lot of Indiana fans online, shot themselves in the foot a lot. Now, no excuse. They lose the game regardless. It wasn't like 1 play, 2 play there, like Ole Miss. Like when I watched that game, 1 or 2 plays go their way, they win that game versus Florida. This was not that. I'm not saying that at all. They lost by 23 points. Would have been more, but they got the late touchdown and then the extra point, which they definitely needed to make it look a little bit better. But I do think Indiana's fine. They will make the playoffs as long as they take care of Purdue at home at 7:30 on Saturday. But as far as the game with Ohio State, they're not there yet. And we talked about it on your show last week, and we talked about it in the interview, just in the trenches. That was one thing, and then skill positions. If you look at the numbers, Ohio State not knocking your socks off. I think Will Howard at 201, Travion had 68, Judkins at 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jeremiah
Smith had the runs. But stats-wise, it's not. But the defense, Ohio State's defense, stood up, man. And they did it versus Oregon. I know they lost that game, but they're going to have to play them again. So they played good. Lawton had a couple plays there at 21-yard run. He ran for like 79, 80 yards. Ellison did okay, but Curtis Rourke, though, man. Getting after him, 5 sacks. It felt like 10. Honestly, I don't know how you felt there, but it felt like 10 on TV. His QBR was 42, which is 88.9, I believe, for the season. So 68 yards. That thing's career low in the history of Curtis Rourke, Ohio or Indiana. So, I mean, they just did a number on them. That offensive line just couldn't do it, man. They couldn't hold those guys. You called that.
No.
And Carnell and Mecca, all those guys. You said Jeremiah Smith was open, but he only had 3 catches for 34 yards. But he could have been 7 catches for 80 yards if he wanted to be. They could have won that game by 10 or 20 more points, in my opinion. Like those Indiana's mistakes were Ohio State didn't make those mistakes. So I don't want to hear, we were a couple of mistakes away, because you'll get some Indiana fans that say that. It could have been a 1-possession game. I mean, yeah, sure. Like, did we hand them a touchdown with the punt? Muffle? Yeah, of course. But you give those guys a short field, they're going to score, especially when they can run the ball like that. You're not making Will Howard do too much, which if you don't make him have to throw 40, 50 times a game, which I'm sure Ohio State fans do not want. I like Will Howard a lot, but you don't want that guy throwing really over like 30, 35 passes. You want to run the ball. He's due for 1 pick. He threw 1, but that wasn't his fault.
It wasn't really his fault.
No, that wasn't his fault at all. Because people just bash this guy online. I'm like on Twitter, like, what are we talking about? Like, that's not his fault. But it happened, and they were able to take care of the ball. Now, Indiana had some good spots. Obviously, that first drive. I mean, I'm sure that stadium was quiet. That first drive, we're like, oh dang, here we go.
Indiana.
But it was early. It was the first drive. It was early, and they scored pretty fast.
And they stopped them too. So let's talk about that for a second.
You're right.
And I'm getting a little feedback. I'm getting echoey. I don't know if that's on your end either. But if anybody's listening and wants to tell me if they can hear it, I'm just going to keep moving on, assuming that I'm the only one that can hear it. No big deal. But so I got a lot of people were bitching like, oh man, Indiana walked right. Indiana stopped Ohio State 3 and out, and then Indiana walked right down the field and scored. And a lot of fans were bitching like, oh no, Indiana's got their number. And as
mine, especially,
yeah, they were panicking. But you have to remember, Curt Cignetti is the best coach in the Big Ten. The guy is a great coach, and you gave him a week to prepare. These were all scripted plays. You had to, as an Ohio State fan, you had to expect some success coming out the gate because he had a week to prepare. He's a good coach. You have to give him credit there. And let me talk about the defense a little bit, and then we'll kind of dive into the expectations of Indiana and what I've been hearing online, because it's kind of a mix between. I feel like some of there's been a lot of disconnect as far as people's views on Indiana, but as far as the Ohio State defense goes, like you said, the defense played great. Jack Sawyer stepped up. JT Tuimoloau finally looked like a first-round pick. The Indiana offensive line, there's nothing they could do to stop those guys. Cody Simon, I thought he played at an All-American level. I thought the linebackers played well. The only complaints I really have about the defense is I didn't think the defensive backs played very well. Davison Igbinosun, those penalties were tough, and he could have been called for a few more. He's got a very physical style of play, and I get that, and I like that. But there was a few more pass interferences that just weren't called. He was very fortunate. And the defensive backs, there were a couple plays where they were beat, but the defensive line and the linebackers just got in Rourke's face so fast. Like if Indiana had any semblance of an offensive and defensive, if they had any semblance of an offensive line or even a defensive line, I think something would have turned out differently. They just weren't prepared. Indiana is a good team. I'm not going to sit here and shit on them like a lot of other people are. People are talking about like Indiana not making the playoffs or they don't deserve to be the playoffs. Whatever your opinion on that, that's fine. But to act like Indiana's not good is completely wrong. They are a top, at the very least, you have to admit, they are a top 25 team. They have the skill guys to go. They even, some of their offensive line was good. It's just there wasn't, as a unit, it just wasn't enough. And their defensive line just wasn't enough either.
I mean, well, you called it last week, though, because when you were talking about the Michigan game, right? And I think I forgot who brought it up on college or on a Big Noon Kickoff. I think it was Brady Quinn, which he picked them by like 40 for you guys, like by 40 to win, or like 38, I think. You didn't win by that much, but I think he picked them by 38. But he said watching the Michigan game again, they're going to just struggle. Because that was the only team up front. I mean, Washington a little bit in Michigan State, but the only team they have 2 first-round picks up front. Grant and what's the other kid's name? Mason Graham, right? Like, those are legit dudes. Like, those are top first-round picks to me, All-American type guys. I mean, I think Graham might be, like, the best in the country, possibly interior defensive lineman. So, Yeah, so I mean, they have guys like that up front. They haven't seen guys like that, and Ohio State has more dudes than Michigan up front. They might have those two guys, but Ohio State can, rotate some guys in and stuff. And their offensive line just wasn't ready for that. I like some of their offensive linemen. Obviously, Trey Weddick, coming from Wisconsin, I've been a big fan of him for a while, and like Carter Smith and those guys. But if there's a weak point to their team, to me, it's that their secondary actually held up pretty well for the most part. They're just not deep too. Like that's the thing. Like this roster turnaround that they did is great, but like they're still not deep though. Like that's the biggest bugaboo from Indiana. It's like I don't think they're an upper echelon team. Like anyone can beat anyone because on Saturdays that's how it goes now. But like they're just a notch below. They're like a second tier team, which is fine. They still should be in the playoffs. By second tier, I mean like they're number 10 AP Coaches Poll. That's about where I have them. About 10 because there's just those Oregon, Ohio State, those teams have like they're so deep and they're so good up front. It's going to be hard to, or like Georgia out in the S. It's going to be tough to beat a team like that when you're Indiana, especially on the road.
Right.
Going to a hostile environment like that. So,
but they are good enough. They are good enough to beat any of the like you talked about Georgia. Okay, fine, but they're good enough to beat a lot of those second tier SEC teams as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because anybody
I think they can hold their own with Penn State. And Penn State, I think Penn State's better, but I think they can hold their own with Penn State.
Yeah, I don't think they get embarrassed. I don't think they get embarrassed by anybody. I mean, they didn't get embarrassed by Ohio State. A team like they didn't get embarrassed, but like a team like Missouri, who's going to be in the top or the top half of the SEC. Indiana, I think Indiana could beat them, right? They're just not beating the top. They're not beating Texas, Georgia. You know what I mean? Like they just don't have that, like you said, in the trenches and all of that. But let's talk about the little bit some of the Indiana gets shit on because of their schedule, and I understand that. But the problem is that those same people shitting on the schedule had Indiana winning 4 games this year. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, Indiana's only going to win 4 games. And then when they win 10, you go, well, their schedule blows. Okay. Well, even if their schedule blows, you thought that they were worse than their fucking schedule. That's the problem that I have with the whole Indiana scheduling argument is that the same people saying that they suck or saying that they're overrated or this is proof that they suck had them sucking way fucking worse 4 months ago. You know what I mean? Like you can't say you don't get to talk out of both sides of your mouth. That's the issue that I have. And you also, if you're an Ohio State fan and you're like, oh, well, they can't handle Ohio State. They can't handle Ohio State. They don't, their schedule blows. Their schedule is the Big Ten. To act like someone told me the other day, they said, oh, if Indiana had Ohio State's schedule, they'd have 5 wins or something like that. And I was thinking the only difference really between their schedule is Ohio State's played Oregon and Penn State. And yeah, Indiana would lose those games. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I mean,
but
they got a little lucky not having to play Penn State and Oregon because you got 4 Big Ten teams in the top. But the out of conference games, which are obviously like FIU or whatever, like those games.
But everybody's out.
I'm saying, he just got there. He was trying to build. I mean, I thought Indiana would win like 5 or 6 games this year. So
I know their Vegas total was 4 fucking games.
4. I had them. I thought a little bit more highly of them, but not much. I only had them at 5. I would have probably said 5.5.
Yeah,
so I was not off. Yeah,
everybody's out of conference schedule blows. Everybody.
I mean, they kind of remind me a little. Somebody said that game, I think it was Herb Street, reminded them of the Michigan State game where they were like number 9 and came in and what's his name that just got that extension, Mel Tucker, and that you guys, Justin Fields was playing that game. I think they won by like 40.
I think we talked about that last week. That's what I said. Yeah, I said.
Oh yeah, you did talk about that. Yeah, you said that too. So Herb Street said that, and then Fields said that because he was obviously at College Game Day and he was laughing about it. But I mean, they also kind of feel TCU-ish to me, and I don't mean that in a bad way because TCU went on a magical run, but kind of having that like senior veteran quarterback and TCU had a lot of transfers, not as many as them, but a good coach. I think Cignetti's a better coach than Sonny Dykes, but just kind of have that feel to me on a magical. I mean, even if they don't win a playoff game or whatever. Now they need to beat Purdue, but if they get in the playoffs and lose, who cares? Like this is the best season in the history of the school. Now I know Cignetti wants more than that, but I mean, it's a magical run. Every other team doesn't feel super magical to me. Even like SMU, like they've had their runs, but like this is like a magical run. So I don't take anything away from Indiana. I think they're a little bit better than the TCU team, but that made the national championship. But they kind of feel the same to me, except they didn't win games like by 4 points, 3 points. Like they were winning blowouts. You know what I mean? Up until
And I'm not saying Indiana's an elite team. I'm just saying the disrespect. People acting like they're bad are the same people that had them winning 4 games. And you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, this team is going to win 4 games. And then when they win 10, still sit here and say they're bad. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like that means if you had to win in 4 games and they won 10, then therefore they're a good team. That's all I'm saying. I don't understand. I'm not understanding the discourse behind that. And I'm not fighting for them to get a playoff spot. I don't really care. I just all I'm saying is that I just think that they deserve more respect because they are a quality opponent. They're a good team. And that's just how I feel. But moving on to unless you have anything else to add, I was going to move on to the Ohio State Michigan game.
No, I was going to say I agree. I mean, the average fan is just looking at stars. They don't have any top guys. They don't have any superstar players. I mean, Curtis was probably on the Heisman ballot before this game. He's not going to be anymore. He dropped so far, having that game like that. And he already missed the game too, a game and a half. And I just think people look at a team like that. Their schedule was bad, but they weren't expected to do much. So I give them credit. Their schedule did move up from 108 to 59 playing Ohio State, but it's going to move back down again playing 1-10 Purdue. I will say that. So they're going to be in though. I mean, I think so much happened on that day that it kind of no one's really talking about Indiana like that much. Like honestly, like I think like Alabama losing and Ole Miss losing and Texas A&M losing like helped them so much because they're number 10 in coaches in AP and I think they'll be in the top 12. So
yeah, they got to get shot. It would be hard.
All they got to do is now they got to take care of business versus Purdue. They can't be messing around with the board. They're 1-10. No, like they got to. Take care of business, win by, there's 23.5 point spread. That's what it is right now. So, but that's all I got to say about that. I'll let you move on, but they're fine. They're okay. They're okay. They're all right.
Yeah, they've exceeded expectations. And I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, dude. There's like a feedback. I can't tell if the feedback is on just my end or not. Again, if anybody else hears that, leave a comment. Hopefully it's just on my end. It's just my problem. But yeah, Ohio State plays Michigan this Saturday at noon, obviously, as is tradition. Ohio State is favored by 21 points, Donovan.
21? Okay. Yeah.
Here's what I see with the Michigan team. Let's break down the Michigan team, and then you can tell me where I'm right, where I'm wrong. I think that Michigan still has an elite defensive backfield. I think this might be the best defensive backfield that Ohio State is going to see. I understand that Will Johnson's been out the last 4 games. It does appear that he's not going to play in this game either. I guess Sharon Moore had an interview today, and they asked him if he was going to play, and he did that Sharon Moore thing where he didn't really answer the question. So that means he's not going to play. I do think there's
season when he got hurt. I knew he. I figured. I mean, what's the point of coming back? I guess, right?
I do think that there's a lot of exactly. I do think that there's a lot of talent. Jair Hill, he was a 4-star freshman or 4-star recruit 2 years ago. He started a majority of this year. I know that they benched him, but they brought his ass right back against Northwestern. So I think he's going to start against Ohio State. I think he's quality. The other cornerbacks are Amir Hall. Amir Hall was a All-American at the University of Albany. He transferred to Michigan. He had an interception against Northwestern. A very quality player. Zeke Berry, another guy he's only a sophomore. I think he's very good as he's their other cornerback. He's very good. I have nothing bad to say about him. And then there's safeties, Makari Page. We know about Makari Page. Makari Page he's very effective, very good, all Big Ten caliber player. And then Quentin Johnson, another very high quality safety. All 5 of those guys are guys that I think are going to, they can start for most teams in college football. And there's a freshman and a sophomore in there. Their defensive line is elite. You've talked about it. You've already talked about Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Those guys are borderline first-round draft picks at defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant is absolutely huge. I think he's like 6'6", 340. I don't think Ohio State's played a defensive tackle that large yet. Mason Graham, that's a guy that's going to be he's going to be an All-American. Nagurski, he's going to be fighting for some awards in the offseason. Cameron Brandt is the other defensive lineman that he's only a sophomore, former 4-star kid who's really exploded. I don't think he was a starter at the beginning of the year, but he's starting now, and he's really good. He's gotten a couple sacks in the last couple weeks. I really like him. So I think their defensive line is good too. On the offensive side of the ball, I know they get shit on a lot, but I don't think the receivers are that bad. Kendrick Bell, he's just a redshirt freshman. That's Ronnie Bell's little brother. He was recruited. I think he was actually a quarterback in high school. 6'3". He's actually really talented. I don't know why he's not. They're not. I think he's really talented. I think he gets open. Peyton O'Leary, big white kid. Your classic white kid who pretty much catches everything, but maybe not exactly a speedster. I think he's about 6'3". Tyler Morris, he was like their leading receiver last week. He's a little speedy slot guy. And then, of course, Colson Loveland. Now, Colson Loveland did exit the Northwestern game last week after catching a touchdown. It doesn't look like he's going to play either. They asked Sharon more about Colson Loveland, and again, he played kind of coy and said we'll take it day by day. He did not say it with a smile on his face, so that makes me feel like Colson Loveland's out. Colson Loveland's already missed some time this year. Colson Loveland's kind of already established himself as an early round draft pick, so he might be just giving up and cashing it. I don't know. Without him, that is a difference maker, but these receivers can play. To me, the issue is quarterback. All their quarterbacks suck. It looks like they're going to roll with Davis Warren. Davis Warren got all the snaps against Northwestern, and he's not good. He's not good. Some of these guys are getting open, and he either doesn't have the arm strength or the awareness to throw to him. He's not athletic. If it was me, I would go with Orgy. I think Orgy's athletic enough to create some chaos, but he can't throw the ball at all either. I think that's how you're going to have to beat Ohio State too, is just pure chaos and hope something happens. But yeah, quarterback's bad. All those quarterbacks are bad. All of them have been bad. On the defensive side of the ball, their linebackers have not been your classic great Michigan linebackers. They had Jayshon Barnum, who's the transfer from Maryland, who was really good at Maryland last year, but he hasn't exactly stepped up this year. He's just been serviceable. Josiah Stewart's been good. He was the transfer from Coastal Carolina, but again, he's not as good as he was because I don't think that the defense is as good. So he's kind of getting more of the focus. It seems like he's kind of taken a step back. And then the other linebacker is the Houseman, who's the transfer from Nebraska, who again, I don't, these guys are all serviceable. I think they have another linebacker I'm forgetting too, that gets a lot of snaps. Derek Moore. Again, none of those guys impressed me. That's kind of their weakness on the defense. Still a very good defense. But those linebackers, we're used to seeing Michigan linebackers that just are everywhere and all over, they're just super active, and we just don't see that. Who's the kid that got drafted by the Commanders last year?
Oh man, I'm drawing a blank, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy. He wasn't exactly a linebacker, but they played him in the box a lot, and he was just everywhere. He caused a lot of disruptions. He was kind of a tweener, and they don't really have that this year. So I think that's kind of the issue, but obviously quarterback on the offensive side is a big issue too. And their running backs too. Blake Corum's not there. Donovan Edwards has been super disappointing. Khalil Mullins is okay, but he wasn't supposed to be the horse. I don't have an issue with the running backs though. They're just as good as anybody else in the Big Ten. Their offensive line is okay too, but they've definitely taken a step back. But in my eyes, the quarterback is a liability, and the linebackers are not as good as what you really expect Michigan linebackers to be. But Donovan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that linebacker's name still. Probably, I can't think. It wasn't
but he played in the box a lot.
Oh man, it wasn't Sandstro, Mike Sandstro.
Yeah, Sanders still. That guy was everywhere. Mike Sanders was everywhere. He was everywhere.
He played like corner, safety. He kind of played nickel, safety.
He played everywhere. Yeah. He played off the edge. Yeah, he played everywhere. Shout out to Brian Myers. Go Bucks. Go Bucks.
Yeah,
but anyways,
yeah.
Donovan.
Also, I did hear a little feedback on your end, by the way. I just want to let you know. I did hear a little. Oh, it's fine now, but I heard a little bit on your end, just to let you know. But as far as this game, yeah, I mean, rivalry game, obviously must win for Ryan Day. Tired of hearing about it. I know you are too. I think they'll win. I think if this game was in Michigan, it'd be a little bit closer. But the fact that it's that noon kickoff, it's always noon kickoff, but at Ohio State's stadium in Columbus at the Shoe, like, they'll take care of business. Colson Loveland's probably out. Will Johnson out. It's two of your best players. Max Bredesen is the backup tight end. It's Ben Bredesen's little brother there. Not too bad. Not too shabby himself. More of a blocking tight end, though. Not Colson Loveland.
Colson Loveland.
That guy's a first round. That guy's a first round talent.
Yeah.
I think he's my number one tight end still. I know Tyler Warren's really good too, but he's still my tight end one, Colson Loveland.
I agree.
Just to do everything for you. You still have their receivers, they can't get separation though, so that's going to be a problem. And it's going to pay to be physical versus these receivers. I know it kind of hurt them a little bit early last week with Indiana's receivers, but they can fly though. They got some little speedsters, more type guys, and this team doesn't. I mean, I like Tyler Morris. Yeah, Peyton O'Leary's solid, but they don't get good separation from what I've watched with them. They're good in the red zone if they can get down there. Davis Warren has played a little bit better, but he's still Davis Warren.
Dude, he's bad.
I like the kid's story's great, right? I mean, everybody knows it by now. It's a great kid. He's from Southern California. I remember him. He wasn't a big time recruit, but I remember him he's from Santa Monica. Like he played next to like Miller Moss and those guys there. They grew up together, but he's not it. I would say I think he's the best option. I do think they'll go with Orji a little bit with some trickery. They're going to have to use trick plays and stuff like that. And you've seen them do it a couple weeks in a row now. So I would definitely – I'm sure Ryan Day and his staff, but what's your DC's name? Knowles, they're ready for it. Jim Knowles, because they've been doing some trickery. They did some last week versus Northwestern, which that was the best performance they've had all year. Besides the USC game. Obviously, they won the USC game, but I know it was Northwestern, but for them to put up 50 points,
I agree. Well, they've been Michigan. I do have to give Michigan some credit because they've been impressive the last 2 weeks because they're impressive against Indiana too. Brian has something else to add. Michigan defense will slow down the Bucks early, but with the scum offense going 3 and out all game, Michigan defense will wear down.
I agree.
I agree.
I
agree with that too.
23 and a half is about right, but I would take Michigan to cover just because I think they can make the game ugly enough. I'm thinking about 30. Oh, man, that's too many points for them. But I say, I don't know if I'm supposed to give a prediction this early, but I'd probably say 31-14.
No, I love it.
I think they're going to special teams figure out a way to get themselves down there and take care of the ball. A lot of punts, a lot of field position, and a lot of Ryan Day's going to kind of coach it a little tight. He doesn't want to – he knows he can't lose this game. I mean, Jesus Christ, if he loses this game to Davis Warren at quarterback with no Will Johnson and Colson Loveland. I mean, now I've been a huge Ryan Day guy, 100% more than only Ohio State fans. But if he loses this game, there's no excuse. And they probably would still make the playoffs because, they play Oregon. But I don't want to hear, we beat Oregon. No. You take care of Michigan this time, buddy. Like, they're 6-5, and they're down. They lost everybody at the draft. Got to beat them. There's no excuse. But no, Davis Warren, I know you say he's trash, but he's played better the past 2 weeks. He's just taking care of the ball. He's still trash. I agree with you.
I don't think he's played better. I think that they've stopped making him. Yeah, they've stopped allowing him. They've just admitted that, hey, we're never going to be able to throw the ball efficiently. So let's just – I mean, he only threw for – he threw 35 passes. 35 passes for less than 200 yards, dude. They're just dinking and dunking. They're doing what
he only threw 8 passes over 15 yards.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really a pass.
Everything is under. And that without Colson Loveland, because like I said, Max Bredesen's more of a blocking tight end. I don't know about Klein, the other tight end, but I haven't seen him.
That's a reflection of him. That's a reflection of him. I don't think that they trust him to throw it for far.
No, well, they shouldn't trust him. Yeah, they shouldn't trust it. I mean, Jack Tuttle, you couldn't trust him. You couldn't trust.
No, they all suck. They're all bad.
That's why Bryce Underwood going there next year is so huge because he starts right now, like as a senior in high school. But and I can't wait to watch St. Clair versus Underwood for the next few years. That's gonna be fun. But anyway, Orji, I don't think they're gonna go with him though. That they will use him in packages. They're not, unless they get down by so much that. Which, again, like I said last week, it could happen. Ohio State could win this game like 45-7 easily. I could see that happening because they're just so much better than them, especially again at the skill positions. And their linebackers aren't good to me. Michigan, I'm talking about. Not Ohio State's linebackers, I don't think that were good either coming to the season, but they've impressed me, especially Cody Simon. But the secondary is solid, even without another first-round pick. He's cornerback 2, but still a top 10 prospect for me. Travis Hunter's number 1 corner, but he's number 2, and he's a top 10, top 15 guy. Will Johnson, he's explosive. So many pick sixes, great, but he's not going to be there obviously. And still have the guys you mentioned, they're still solid secondary, Hall and Quentin Johnson and those guys. But I think they'll ugly it up, like the commenter said, and kind of keep it close-ish, like 21-10 first half, and then Ohio State second half just because David Warren, man, he just can't. They're gonna load the box. Like I know Mullins is good and Edwards, but they're not good enough. Yeah, I mean Mullins is good. Edwards has been very underwhelming. This guy was like a Heisman candidate. People thought he was gonna run for 1,500 yards this year.
No one thought that lived outside of Michigan.
12. No, well, yeah, you're right. People were because they said they have 2,000-yard running backs this year. A lot of Michigan fans were saying that.
Yep.
They don't. Mullins, I don't know how many yards he has. He probably does have close to 1,000. Yeah, they're just not good up front. Or at the skill positions. Up front, they're okay. They lost so many linemen too, though. So their offensive linemen's not that great. They're big, but they're not. And Miles Hinton has been there. He's good, and Crippen's okay, but
I think if they had a quarterback, they'd be good. I mean, everything else.
If Orji was what I thought he would be, yeah, they would have been solid. If he could be, I'm trying to compare him to a quarterback, the Kansas kid,
Jalen Daniels.
Not being Daniels. Yeah, if he could be like that, that would have been good. But he's not because he's athletic too. I mean, they're different athletes, but athletic, get outside the pocket. I mean, I know he has a lot of interceptions. The kid from Kansas.
He's worse than Devin Gardner. He's worse than. He's worse than all
he's worse. When Joe Milton had a couple stars, he's worse than him. I mean, yeah, David Warren is
way worse than Joe Milton. They would sell their soul to get Joe Milton back.
I mean, yeah, they still would be like a 7-win team, 7 or 8 wins. Yeah, he was. They've gotten beat pretty bad in most. I mean, they really should have lost that USC game. Early on, that's when I think, and the Texas game they looked decent, I guess, for like the first quarter. That's the game it's going to be like though. Texas, Michigan, it's going to be the same type.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, that brings me to my next question. The spread's 21 points. I'm taking Ohio State.
Oh, he says 21.
You're taking Michigan. That's what I'm hearing.
I thought it was 23.5. That's the Purdue Indiana game. 21. That's dead on, man. 21. I'd probably take Ohio State if I had to pick, but that's perfect. That's about where I have it. 21. I would take Ohio State to cover, though. I think they can win this game 35-10, which is 25. Yeah, so 35-10, 35-30. Michigan's going to kick field goals, though, and kind of stick around. I don't know.
I kind of feel bad. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I feel like they're going to do enough just not to get blown out too early, but Ohio State's talent would just take over, and it's going to be even similar to the Indiana game a little bit because they're not going to go. I mean, look what they just did versus them. Like, I don't think Michigan's offensive line is that much better than Indiana's. Really, like, I mean, it's a little bit better, but not really. Like, a little.
They got more ass. They got more ass to them.
I feel like Ohio State can do the same. Maybe not get 13 hurries, like or whatever. I mean,
yeah, man. That Indiana offensive. I mean, I've seen. I mean, they create those running backs. They create holes for those guys. I don't know, man. I think the Michigan offense.
No, they're running. Their run. They do, but they're gonna have to throw, man. They can't hide behind.
That's the issue.
Yeah, like they. I can see him going 8 for 15 with 68 yards too, though. Basically, is what I'm saying. But he's gonna throw like 3 picks instead of Curtis didn't throw any picks. He had a fumble, but I can. So
Brian comments: Michigan offense scored 17 at Washington, 7 at Illinois, and 15 at Indiana. Well, I know it, Brian. The offense is definitely the issue.
This is Michigan, Ohio State. I don't care about any of the. I know what they did in the past. I get what he's saying, but this is.
Oh no, I agree with him. I agree with him. That shit doesn't matter. They're not functional. The offense is the issue. That's the issue. They have shown no light at all at quarterback. I almost feel bad because I mean this is the Ohio State Michigan episode, and I feel like we should be talking about it for just an hour straight. But like I almost feel like the conversation's over. Like it's like Ohio State is just Michigan has no quarterback. They have their offense is just not good at all. Their offense is I don't know how to their offense is worse than Indiana's for sure. For sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. But this is Ohio State, Michigan, man. Like these young guys, they've won 2 games. Some of these sophomore guys, some of these 3. 3. Some of these guys.
Michigan's won 3 in a row.
Yeah, Will John. I know he's not playing Loveland. They've never lost. They're going to be in that lock. I mean, Davis Warren's already been not chirping, but he said, it's hard not to look forward to that game. I'm playing against them on the road, and that's not the guy that should be saying anything, bro. Davis Warren, but he's been at Michigan for a while too, but he's ready. For this game, and I don't know, man. I think he's shown a little bit of flash, like Northwestern, a little bit of flash. No, he didn't throw. Oregon, a little bit of flash. I know they were never really in that Oregon game after the first.
Never, not one bit.
Quarter, no, first quarter and a half, wasn't it? By like 10.
When I watched that game,
they lost by 21, but I think they pulled away in the second half. Oregon did, or like the second quarter.
At no point did I ever think Oregon was going to lose that game. Well,
not at all.
There were
but
points.
That's the game. That's one of his best games of the season. They were down the whole time.
I think that the defense he didn't make any passes that I was like, oh, that guy's a starting quarterback. The only 2 games I'll give
he's never thrown over 200 yards, so yeah, you're right. I mean, he hasn't had it.
And not only that, I don't think he's completed a pass over fucking 25 yards, dude. Like he's not. They never let him rip it.
Yeah, good stat to look at.
Huh?
Oh, he's probably because he didn't start in the USC game. They did have a big play, but that was Orgy.
Yeah, because Orgy runs around, the defense comes up, and then he chucks it up. He creates chaos. Dude, he couldn't throw. He couldn't throw for over 200 yards against Northwestern, and he threw for over 30 times. They don't let him throw the ball. Those are their 2 best games.
23-yard pass in the Arkansas State. Well, the Arkansas State game was his worst game of the season. That was a game where I was like, "Oh, this dude sucks."
Yeah, that was when they were still trying to run. That was when they were still trying to run what they wanted to run.
Because the Fresno State game, he was just mid, and I was like, "Okay, that's Davis Warren. As long as he can be mid."
He was bad.
But then Texas game, I was like, "Okay,
Fresno State."
He was mid versus Fresno State, but they didn't really ask him to do much. Texas game, I was like,
"They almost lost to Fresno State."
That wasn't really his fault, though.
No, but he didn't help.
He threw a pick 6, so kind of was. But then he threw a pick 6, then Will Johnson got the pick 6 at the end.
That's right.
But the Oregon game, now I'm just stat box watching, but I did watch that game. 13 for 23, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 56% completion percentage, 155 yards. But yeah, I mean, he was like 8 for 10 in the second half, and that game was already out of hand with a touchdown. So that 8 for 10 with 100 yards and a touchdown was garbage time.
I think what you do is, and I don't want to.
I'm not going to try to sell you on Davis Warren at all. I'm not.
But. No, but I think that even when you look at his positive stats, what's happening is that these defenses are going. They're giving him space, and they're saying, "All right, dude, do whatever you want up here because you're not going to do anything." You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to. We know you can't go deep on us, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's playing like a walk-on guy. I mean, not all walk-ons are created equal. I don't want to diss walk-ons. I'm just saying this dude is not supposed to be starting quarterback at Michigan after what they just had with JJ and winning a chance. Now, I knew they were going to be down this year, like I said, but if you had told me Davis Warren would be I shouldn't be talking about Davis Warren right now at all. This is the Ohio State Michigan. Like you just said, like we should be talking about this game for an hour. It's hard to because
they're bad.
Talking about a guy that really, I'm happy Davis Warren is playing football and alive after having leukemia and losing all his hair and losing 50, 60 pounds or whatever. He weighed like 120 3 years ago.
That's great.
And I'm happy for the kid. And like I said, everybody roots for this guy. But like,
I don't.
Well, I mean, like every off the field, like with his story, like I
know.
I'm trying to sell you on a story that's like, because they're gonna do it on game day. They're gonna now. I know you guys don't have game day this time. It's A&M in Texas, but they're gonna have a segment where they show Davis Warren, and everyone's gonna root for him because people.
I'm sure they will.
They are. I mean, I get it. His story's cool. It's great. I'm so happy that we still have him here, but he's not good.
So Brian's got another comment here. Michigan has only one receiving threat. Stop that guy who stopped the Michigan passing game. Brian, they don't even have that one receiving threat. The receiving threat you're talking about is Colson Loveland. Colson Loveland got hurt in the second half of the Northwestern game, and Sharon Moore came out earlier today and didn't exactly act like he was stoked about his progress for the injury. So I don't know if Colson Loveland is good. If I had to put money on it, I would bet Colson Loveland's not going to play against Ohio State.
I don't think he is either because, I mean, these guys were probably going to – now, I mean, I want to take it back to playing for nothing. It's Michigan, Ohio State. I get that. But, I mean, these guys weren't going to play in that whatever bowl game they get anyway because now they're bowl eligible. But, like, you think Colson Loveland and Will Johnson are going to play in that? No. But this game, yeah, I'm sure a guy like Colson Loveland is going to try to play in this game as much as possible. But I don't think he's going to.
I think
what
did
he say? Yeah, he said
–
he just kept saying, we'll see, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't sound
confident.
But I could see Moore playing mind games with you guys too, though, man, because he'll do anything to win this game and try to get an edge. Like, he has to. Like, he might be playing around with you guys a little bit. Like, I think they're going to run some trick plays too with your boy Orji.
I think that –
or they threw the ball with what's the receiver you just mentioned? He threw the ball. Bell.
Well,
He has like 4 pass attempts because he used to play quarterback. Yeah. So they might do like an end around, like the pass. Ohio State should be able to like not bite on that and stop it though. They can see that coming, I think. But if Michigan does win the game, it has to be block punt. Kendrick Bell throws it to Orji on a like end around, like some crazy like. That's the only way I see them winning this ball game. Kenneth Grant getting the fumble on Will Howard.
Will Johnson has to play.
Will Howard. I said Will Howard. So I meant that Will Johnson.
Well, no, I'm saying Will Johnson has to play.
Oh, I meant like somebody like Kenneth. I meant somebody like Kenneth Grant or Mason Graham. Sorry, because they still have superstars. And I love some superstars.
I'm saying
they're difference makers. Yeah.
If Michigan's going to play, Will Johnson has to play.
Oh, Michigan. Yeah, I don't know if Will Johnson's going to play, man. Are you saying that they have a chance he has to play?
I think so. I'm thinking that he's more likely to play than Colson Loveland.
Ooh. Yeah, man, I would put Colson. Well, if Colson Loveland wants to play, I put him out there anyway because I think that guy's so good, man. He's just such a different. If they had their complete team, Colson Loveland and Will, I could see them. I would pick them to cover. I'll say that. I'm not win, but because those guys, I mean, Will Howard, I could see him throwing a pick 6 to Will Johnson if he was. I could see him throwing.
I anticipate Ohio State coming out and letting it. They're the better team. I think that Chip Kelly's a great offensive coordinator. I expect him to score a shit ton of points and to just. I expect the Avalanche to just collapse on Michigan. They're not. I don't think Ohio State's going to take their foot off the gas pedal. Dude, Ohio State didn't take their foot off the gas pedal for Cignetti. Trey Henderson busted off that run, took a knee at the 1, and Ryan Day said, "Nah, dude, fuck that. Score a touchdown, bitch." I don't think he's going to – what do you think he's going to give Michigan a break? They're not going to slow down. They're going to go out.
They got to play Oregon next week. Keep that in mind. I know you know that, but they play.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. We'll see, though.
Now, I know they already played those guys, but they got to play. You don't want to be – I'm saying if it's 28-0 going to the third, he's got to pull Will Howard. He's got to pull Trayvon Henderson. You can't be messing around and lose Caleb Downs because you wanted to blow out Michigan and be cute, and then you already lost to Oregon once. You know what I mean? Now Ohio State, if they lose to Oregon again, especially that close, they're going to be in the playoffs. But you don't want to be losing and messing around. 5 seed is perfect for you guys right now. You don't want to be messing around, I think. Get those dudes out of the game. Call it. I see what you're saying, but that Oregon team ain't no – I mean, they know they're no joke. They lost to them earlier. Now, this will be a neutral site game. It's different, but I think Oregon's even better than you guys played them before. I think Ohio State's better than before. Maybe not on offensive line, but everywhere else. You lost Simmons in that game. You lost the center, which I love that.
It's not just going to be a neutral site game either. It's going to be in Indianapolis. It's a 3-hour drive from Columbus. We know who's going to show up.
Yeah, you guys will show. Oregon fans travel well, but yeah.
It's not three. I'm not saying that they don't travel.
It's
well.
It'll be it's not neutral. But you're not playing it at Alton. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because like if you're playing that game at Alton again, I would pick Oregon again.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not in Alton.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
As close to Columbus as you can get.
You guys will probably be favorite.
I don't know about that, but let's go ahead.
If Ohio State beats Michigan, like you're saying, blowout over 35 points or whatever, 28 points. Yeah, I think because Oregon might struggle a little bit this week, which I know we have.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into our Big Ten picks. So last week we both went 6-2, by the way. So congratulations. Oh. Okay.
Whoa,
yeah, I lost.
What game did I lose?
You lost. First of all, you won the Penn State game, by the way, because that's the game that I lost. And I think you took. Let me go back. I believe you took Illinois.
I thought they won. They lost?
No, you took Rutgers. I'm sorry. You took Rutgers. The games you lost, you took Rutgers and Maryland.
Why did I take Maryland?
I don't know. Everything else you won, though. All right, let's go. So Minnesota. Oh, let me pull up the. I want to make sure I use the slick banner. I don't want to let our boy Chris down. I know he'll be watching. Let's move our heads over here. Oh, there he goes. All right, cool. All right, first game. Minnesota travels to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. Wisconsin is favored by 2.5. Donovan, what do you think?
Oh, that's at home. It's in Madison, senior day. Man, I really liked how Minnesota looked last week. I knew that game would be close. I knew they would cover. I didn't think it would be that close by one, but I'll go Wisconsin. They're at home. That'll be a really close game. What are they favored by? 3?
2.5.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I'll say. Wisconsin by 3 at home.
Wisconsin looked like shit last week, and you're right, Minnesota did look good. But Minnesota, I think that they exhausted all their energy against Penn State, and now they got to travel to Wisconsin. Give me Wisconsin laying the 2.5. Next game, Nebraska travels to Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. The Hawkeyes are 5.5-point favorites. What are your thoughts?
I'm happy Nebraska got bowl eligible, by the way, because that was my lock to Brock that they would make a bowl game. And I picked them to win again. I think they upset Iowa. They haven't done it in so long on the road. But I got Nebraska winning this game by 5 points. So flip it, 5.5. But go Nebraska. I think they win this game. I think Dylan Raiola kind of has a statement game. And they pass the ball really well through the air, and Iowa just can't. They won last week, 29-13, but I'll go Nebraska.
Yeah, both teams actually looked really good last week. Nebraska put their foot on Wisconsin, and Iowa they destroyed Maryland. I'm going to go with Iowa. I think Iowa is just the far superior team. I like Nebraska as well. I'm glad they're bowl eligible, but I'm rolling with them. Brian's got another comment here. Not looking past scum at all, but I'm curious to see how Tez Johnson looks against Washington. Aren't we all? We'll get to that. We'll get to our predictions on that. But let's go to the next game. Illinois travels to Evanston to take on the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern is getting 7.5. So that means the Fighting Illini are favored by 7.5 points. Donovan, what do you think?
Illinois big. Definitely more than 7.5. No, it's another rivalry game. It's rivalry week, and it's on the road, I guess. Weird stadium. Not at Wrigley this time, but I go Illinois. I think they win by like 17, 21 points.
I'm going to take Northwestern. This one was really hard for me because Illinois has looked good.
Oh, it is.
Northwestern it is?
Yeah, it says it in very small print on your thing. It says that makes sense, though, because Illinois versus Northwestern. So you sell more tickets, get more money. So that's a neutral site game then pretty much.
It's definitely a neutral site, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they won't win by maybe 17 or 21, but I think they still cover. Might go down to like 10 or 13 now.
I Really? You think it's going to go down? I figure there's going to be even more.
I mean, up. Sorry, up. I think
yeah.
it can go up. Yeah, because it's not a real home. It's basically Illinois might have more fans than them.
Illinois is definitely going to have more fans. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Illinois. Yeah, because that Wrigley, it's Illinois. Northwestern's small.
Yeah.
I'll go. I would say by 21 at least now. 21 to about 24 Illinois, because they can do a lot of the same things Michigan did last week on offense.
Yeah. Well, and that's the issue that I have. I'm going to take
way better. Yeah.
I'm going to take Northwestern because it is a rivalry game. I don't think Northwestern's horrible. I'm going to take Northwestern getting the points. It is hard though because Northwestern has looked like complete shit, and Illinois has looked good. But I'm going to go against my brain and go with my heart on Northwestern. Next game, Maryland travels to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. The Penn State Nittany Lions are favored by 24.5. Donovan, what do you think?
Yeah, Penn State puts it on them. Maryland disappointed me last week. Maryland's just not a good football team. They got a couple good guys, but Penn State wins, and then Penn State's in a perfect spot, man. When they're in, they don't have to worry about anything really. Now I know they wanted to win the Big Ten. They won't do that, but they're in the dance. That's all that you should care about.
Do you know that for sure?
If they win, yeah, they're number 4 right now, and
right.
Yeah, they're locked. I mean. They might be in anyway because of all the chaos that's been happening. Now, don't lose to Maryland at home. But, yeah, you win, you're in. You're 11. They'll be top 5 in the country if they win this game. They won't have a bye because of the seeding, but they'll be in.
Right, yes.
Yeah, their FPI to be in is 97.2 right now for Penn State. It'll go to, 99.9 if they win.
Interesting. You're probably right. Brian, I'm sorry. He says we skipped Rutgers at Michigan State. I'm going by the DraftKings list. Chris makes it off the list that's on the Big Ten website, so we will get there. I just got it based off the draft. My notebook's got it based off the DraftKings work because the spreads. But yeah, I'm going to take Penn State too, Donovan. I know they struggled last week, but Maryland looked like shit too. They both look like shit. Penn State should come out. Usually Penn State comes out ready to rock and roll after they look like shit. So I'm going to ride with Penn State. Next game, Notre Dame travels to LA to take on the USC Trojans. Notre Dame is favored by 7.5. Donovan, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, with Penn State's 93.3, I said 92. They're higher than I thought they were. Yeah, they have a 93%. Yeah, I mean, it's just, they're going to be in. I have USC winning this game. Chaos.
You have USC winning this game?
USC winning this game. Chaos is still, USC's got, big problem with Notre Dame. They've looked great, man. They've looked amazing. I mean, you could make the argument that maybe outside of Ohio State and Oregon, they look the best out of everybody in the country the past 2 months.
Yeah, Brian writes that the whole SEC is rooting for USC. No shit. Of course, even if they lose, they're in, right?
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
No, maybe.
Yes.
There's a lot of football to be played with. Yeah, they should be in. I think USC wins. I think they're secondary. They take. Notre Dame's been banged up, and they've done a hell of a job. I got to give Coach Freeman some credit because they've lost. Really, I think their best player on defense, and they've had a lot of little injuries here and there. Losing Morrison obviously was huge. Maybe one of the best cornerbacks in the country. So good team, been running the hell out of the football. Leonard's been great, but I think Jaden Maivia, not a lot of tape on that guy at USC. Maybe go back to UNLV stuff, but he's been playing good. But they kind of haven't let him go yet. This might be the game. This might not be a game you want to do that, but I think Lincoln says, "What the hell? We're in a bowl game. What's the difference between 7-5, 6-6? I mean, let it fly. That dude's athletic as hell. He can sling it. The receivers USC has match up with Notre Dame secondary is why I'm picking them to win. I think USC is going to make some big plays downfield, and their defense has been solid, man. They were 101 last year. They are 35th best defense in the country. No one's talking about it. I know USC hasn't played good, but it hasn't been Lynn's fault. I hear a lot of BS about USC this, USC that, and I get it. But USC is a couple plays away from being a 9-2 team. They're not a bad team. They're still good. No, I know. I know.
I'll give it to you.
They lost every game that was close.
I'll give it to you.
No, I get it. I get it, like, but I'm talking about just pure talent on the field. Like,
You're right. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I think I thought about it, and I think that you're right.
I think USC is more talented football team than Notre Dame. Now, whether they put that together for 60 minutes is another story because Notre Dame has a better coach. They're more experienced. They have more senior leadership. They're better in the trenches.
Coach.
I mean, right now.
I think that Lincoln Riley's got some issues that he has to figure out.
People are calling Lincoln Riley an offensive coordinator now. Do they hate him? Like, everyone hates him.
I know. They got to chill out on that, dude. He's got a down year. His system's really reliant on the quarterback. And you didn't like his quarter. It is what it is. I'm not going to defend Lincoln Riley. I'm taking Notre Dame here. I think Notre Dame USC looked good last week. USC has looked good. I think that you are right. They look like they're on the upswing, but Notre Dame is also on the upswing. They smashed a really good Army team. They're really good. They're really good. If it's a shame that they can't get a bye week because I think that they probably would in the playoffs, but they can't because they don't want to. They're not a conference champion. But yeah, I'm taking Notre Dame, dude. I think that they smash them.
Smash them. What'd you say the spread was 7.5?
The spread's 7.5. Yeah.
I'll just say this, man. The toughest thing for me about Notre Dame is I know they've smashed some of these teams. You got Army and they can't throw, dude. Like, they don't have a legit, like, I mean, they haven't played an explosive team all year besides Louisville and A&M. But A&M
I don't know if that's true. A&M is what?
I mean, I'm talking about explosive downfield. Zachariah Branch and Mekhi Lemon and, like, Deuce Robinson. And then that kid's been running the hell out of the rock. Not Lloyd. That was last year. Who?
Woody
Marks. I mean, Matt Leinart said he was the best running back in the Big Ten. He's not. He's being a homer.
He's not. No.
He's not. He's been great. He's better than Marshawn Lloyd, who I thought was great. I love Woody Marks. He's been great. But, I mean, this is a team that USC beat LSU. They should have beat Michigan. Should have beat Wisconsin.
LSU's not very good.
No, they're not. But
Michigan's not very good either.
The Penn State game was right there for them. Obviously, the Washington game, they just lost flat out. The score looked a lot closer.
Yeah, Washington blows.
Yeah,
Brian Rice lost to Northern Illinois is a big anchor around their neck. The SEC will be campaigning hard against the Irish to go. Yeah, that's a fucking fact. I don't think they're going to be able to win that. Oh, fuck yeah. I think they're in. But he's right. They're going to be, that's going to be the first thing out of that fucking Georgia coach's mouth. All right, next game. Rutgers travels to East Lansing to play Michigan State. Michigan State is favored by 1.5, Donovan. Who are you taking?
Oh, man, I really feel like Michigan State still wins this game. They're both – it's going to be ugly, though, but I'll go Michigan State. I think I like what they're trying to do there, man. Like, Aiden Childs has definitely not been good all year, but he's starting to –
He's awful.
A little bit better like last week and getting more comfortable. But, I mean, I'll take Michigan State by a field goal. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm not really super happy about either because Michigan State does look like they're figuring it out. Aiden Childs does look better. He doesn't look quite as horrible as he used to. And Rutgers, I can't quite figure them out. I can't quite put my finger on them. They continue to look disappointing. I'm going to take Rutgers. I feel like they're a talented team getting points against a coach that just got there. So yeah, I'm gonna take Rutgers. But I agree with you. This is a really hard one because
I think Jack Belling's going to play too. The tight end. I think he plays.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, they need everybody. Their offense is horrible. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Next game.
Did win that game last year.
Huh?
I was gonna say Rutgers did win that game last year by 3. So.
Yeah. Rutgers has got a lot of good things going for them. It's just they look like shit last week. Fresno State travels to LA to take on the UCLA Bruins. UCLA is favored by 9.5 points, Donovan. Who are you taking?
That's about right. Fresno State's looked pretty solid this year. I like what their program's done, even without their coach that had to step down again. But I'll go UCLA at home. They fight hard, man. I really feel like they play for Bieniemy and man, I'm trying to Deshaun Foster. They play hard for those guys. A lot of senior veterans on this team that want to win. So this is their senior day. I think they'll win at home versus Fresno State. 10, 13 points.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with you. I don't really have. I don't feel as strongly about it as you do. Because Fresno State does look pretty tough. Fresno State has looked good. They looked really good against Colorado State, who's a really good team. And UCLA didn't look good against USC. And there's a lot of games where they don't look good. So it's hard to take UCLA, but they're at home. It's senior day. Let's ride. Next game, Purdue travels to Bloomington, Indiana for the what's the battle for the Oaken Bucket or something like that.
Yeah.
Indiana favored by 29 points. Donovan, what do you think?
29, damn. Yeah, man. Purdue's horrible this year, but like I said, it's rivalry games. Strange things happen. I don't think Indiana wins by 29. I think Purdue covers, but Indiana wins by about 24. It is at home under the lights, which they haven't played an under the lights game in this rivalry in a long time. So yeah, I'll go with Indiana. 20. You said 29, 28 and a half. I mean, that's about right though. I think they win by about 24, 28. I just think Purdue's gonna.
So you're taking Purdue
to cover.
To cover, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely not to win. Yeah.
Right. Understood. Brian said Signetti's going to roll up on Purdue.
No, I get that. He might. Yeah, I get that. He might.
Yeah, but dude, 30 points is rolling up. Dude, 30 points is rolling. 3 touchdowns is rolling it up. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. There's no way it's a rivalry game.
Well, people are saying like 56-7. Like, I'm like, dude, Purdue is bad, but like when Oregon played them,
29 points.
They have enough talent. I can tell by what I've seen Purdue, they have enough talent to get up for games like this. Now they're still going to lose by a bunch of points, but I can tell they have the talent to get up for games like this. And it's a rivalry game that they can. Now Indiana loses.
No, I agree with you. Ryan Walters.
Indiana loses this game. It's still a must-win game. Same with Penn State. Like it's a must-win. Not really same because Penn State probably being regardless. But if Indiana loses this game, they're not in the playoffs. Like you don't lose at home to Purdue. They're not in, dude. They're not gonna. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it up. I'm gonna keep it 100, dude. If they lose to a 1-10 Purdue team, they're not gonna be in the playoffs.
I don't think they're gonna.
You can't lose.
Either way,
they're not. But I mean, this is a team that lost 66-7 versus Notre Dame, though. Like Indiana can definitely, they can do that. Why not? So I get where Brian's coming from, the commenter, because they can win 66-7 versus this team. But I've also watched Purdue. You know, like I said, they went to overtime with Illinois, who was a ranked team, a solid team in my eyes, one of the top 25 teams in the country. They went toe-to-toe with Nebraska. Now they lost by 18. Yeah, Illinois is a top 25 team, right?
I don't think I would rank them in the top 25.
They're 25. They're ranked 25, right?
25. They're. I know that they are. I just don't know.
Oh, if you don't think they are?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. We'll see. I don't. Whatever. I get it. We're both You're picking Purdue though, right?
To cover, yeah.
To cover, yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. I was like, I'm not picking Purdue to win. Yeah, Indiana.
No, I'm not asking that. That's why I wanted to be clear. Yeah. So
yeah. Purdue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be Purdue by 40. Yeah, I see where Brian's coming from, but I still think Purdue covers.
You can. I guess my issue with that is that you can still take out your frustrations and win by 4 touchdowns and still lose the spread. Indiana can win by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
And still lose. That's a lot of points. That's just a lot of points.
It's gonna go up.
That's a shit ton of points. That's just a shit ton of points. And Indiana and Purdue's got enough talent, especially on the offensive side of the football, to backdoor it.
They
right?
do.
Because that's what'll happen is that they'll roll out Hudson Card, they'll get dominated, and then they'll put in their freshman quarterback that runs around, and then they'll get a fourth quarter touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I get what people are saying because like the Oregon game, 35-0, 45-0 versus you guys, and then 49-10. Those are the other top 10s in the Big. They've only scored 10 points versus 3 of the other top teams in the Big. But I don't think.
Right.
See, that's where the gap is. I don't think Indiana is as good as those 3 teams.
And it's not a rivalry game. Brian Wright Signetti really strikes me as the kind of guy who runs up the score. He is 100% the kind of guy that runs up the score.
No, he is. We agree with you, bro.
I think that 4 touchdowns. He's got Purdue, Indiana has to win by more than 4 touchdowns. That's not enough for me to. That's not that's too much.
The reason I kind of do agree with Brian a little bit is not because of like the talent. It's because like Signetti might be trying to make a point to like the committee and be like, dude, I'm scoring 70 fucking points
against Purdue.
Dude, it's Indiana. I feel like they have to do everything in their power. Like, I get it. I get where you're coming from, but like, I get also Signetti's, because the whole point of Booger's been covering their ass on Tuesdays is like they've been blowing out teams. It's not like they're barely winning. Like if Indiana was winning these games by 7-10 points every week, yeah, I could see the nation's argument about them not making. But the fact that they're dominating every week is why I have Indiana in the playoffs. So Signetti might be like, I want to cover the spread. Let's win by fucking 50 points, dude. Like you're seniors.
That's
you got,
so many.
It's your last home game of the season. You're not going to get a home game if you're Indiana in the playoffs. You're not getting a home game, so you might as well do it.
Brian writes, when the playoffs are on the line, like when Ohio State beat Whiskey 50. That's fair. It
depends where they're ranked on tomorrow too. If they're not if they're not in the playoffs tomorrow, if they're not 12, dude, I'll change my whole mind. They'll score. It'll be 59-0. If they're 13.
But there is a difference because Wisconsin's good, right? When you put an exclamation point on Wisconsin, that means something. When you put beating Purdue by 80 points, I don't think that's going to impress anybody.
Probably not. Honestly, they're 1-10, man. They haven't they only beat an FCS.
Yeah, no, they suck. But so I don't know.
Indiana State, yeah.
There's just so many fucking points. But I mean, either way, whatever. So let's move on. We're both on Purdue plus 29. Okay, because you were wavering there. You were wavering there for a second, dude.
I was dancing a little bit. I was tap dancing.
You were dancing between the raindrops. All right, last one.
That hook is scary, man. That's why I took Purdue.
There's no hook. Yeah. There's no hook. It's 29.
Oh, but see, if it was like 27, I would take Indiana. 27.5, I'd take Indiana.
Well, I can see that. That's a huge difference. It doesn't seem like a huge difference, but when you gamble, that 28 is a key number. It's a huge difference.
It might go up though. I think
it goes back. Then it goes from 4 touchdowns to 3 touchdowns and some field goals, right? So yeah, no, I'm with you, but it isn't. It's 29. So let's roll now on to the next one. Washington. It goes to Eugene, Oregon, to take on the Oregon Ducks, who are favored by 19 points. Donovan, what do you think about this game?
I didn't know that they were only favored by 19. I thought it'd be more than that. Honestly, I guess they respect Washington a little bit more than I thought, and it's a little bit of a rivalry game. Not an in-state rivalry game like some of the others have been talking about, but a big rivalry game. Yeah, I think Oregon still wins. I think they win by 14 points. So I have Washington covering. I think Oregon, if you kind of watch them play, I've watched them a lot. They get up on you and they kind of take the pedal off, a little bit. And I think they know what they have next week, playing Ohio State, and they know what they have to go do. They go vanilla a little bit. I think Lanning, always fires them up and they come out hot. And I think he wants Gabriel to be in New York, so he's going to give him some stats early on. Because I think Gabriel deserves to be in New York too. But his stats are a little bit down from last year, but I think he's better actually as a passer. Running, obviously not, but they don't need he's done everything they've asked. And Oregon's the best team in the country to me for a reason. They'll continue on. But, I mean, yeah, Washington's solid, and they have some good pieces too. Like I said, it's a rivalry game, and I don't think Oregon's they don't need style points. Like, Oregon's in.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? They're fine. They've got a Heisman contender. They've got Tez coming, playing, and Evans still. It's just I said Oregon was the best team in the country at the beginning of the season with Georgia. I still think so. So I'm not changing anything. I know Ohio State's right there. I think Ohio State's better than Georgia at a neutral site. But I mean, I don't think they're gonna play each other a third time in the national championship. I would kind of hope not, but we'll see. I think Oregon's the best team in the country. But I think they do win by 14, not 17, whatever you said it was. 18, 19.
19.
Yeah, that's a little high.
See, I disagree. I'm taking Oregon. Both teams are coming off of a bye week. Oregon hasn't looked good. Washington hasn't looked good either. But Oregon haven't looked dominant like you would think they would. I mean, they played with their food a little bit against Maryland. But I do think that you're right. This is their last time to really make a statement before the Big Ten championship game. They're going to come out. They're going to be well rested. Washington just doesn't have the horse to hang. So I will take Oregon dropping the 19.
Yeah, I get that, and I know people think I'm nuts when I'm just saying how are you so confident Oregon being the best team? It's not about like none of these teams are great, man. I don't know if we're gonna ever get another great team in college football again.
No,
that Georgia team might have been like the last one or one of the last Ohio State teams, but because the NIL now and the conference a lot, but they take care of business. I know they won by 10 versus Idaho. I know they beat Boise by 3. I know they barely beat Maryland. I get it. I watched some of this game. I know they beat Ohio State by 1, but they won.
They barely beat Michigan State too.
Barely beat Michigan State. There we go.
They didn't exactly.
They won by 3. I mean, they were on the ropes. I didn't think they were ever going to lose that game personally. But,
they didn't exactly smush Purdue either.
But that's a game they took. They could have won that game 56-0 if they wanted to.
But
they won 35-0.
Yeah,
but I don't think Lanning coaches that way, dude. Lanning plays his backups a lot. Like, they get a lot of snaps, dude. He's not Signetti where he's trying to – there's no point he needs to prove. Like, he's at Oregon. He doesn't need to blow anybody out like that.
At what point did he put his backups in against Purdue?
I mean, they put their backups in the 4th, I think. But, like, they also just – he was calling –
deep.
He's calling, like, the same plays. Dude, he's calling draws and screen –
Yeah, no, I got that, but I think Ohio State beats them in Indiana. I think Ohio State's the better team. I think they beat Ohio State by 1 point in their own backyard. You know, and there were some mistakes that were made. I don't know, man. The
Will Howard play, I get it. Like, if he has another chance to throw the ball or doesn't do that, like, that's what everybody's saying.
That pass interference play was a little iffy too, right? The offensive pass interference call.
Dude, that was offensive pass. I'm sorry. And I picked Ohio. I actually bet on Ohio State to win in the second half. Sorry, Oregon fans. They're probably like, "Damn, I thought you were our guy." No,
I don't know, man. I don't. My point is that whether you think it was offensive pass interference or not, all the breaks kind of went their way, and they still only won by 1 point. I don't know. And there's just a lot of you named it. You named half their schedule that they kind of struggled against. Like, I don't know, man. I do think that that their wide receiver room is the best wide receiver room in college football.
I think you guys have the best wide receiver room in football.
I don't know if that's true because they're all really good. It feels like it feels like no one has stepped up to be like that Marvin Harrison alpha, and it feels like Oregon has 3 like alphas, like Evan Spencer, Tez Johnson. Those guys can both be number 1.
Yeah, it could go. That they're so close, man. Because I think, if I'm looking at it with Tez and Evan, like Trayshawn and Gary Bryant, Pelliam, Julian Dix. I mean, they got
Gary Bryant's great too. Gary Bryant's great too, and he's been hurt.
Yeah,
Brian says the crowd noise really hurts the Buckeyes. That won't be a problem in Indy. Yeah, dude, 100%, Brian. That Indianapolis crowd is going to be 60% Ohio State at least. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think both teams are better than they were when they played that game, but I think Oregon's a little bit better than Ohio State is because they lost. When you play Indiana, losing your starting center and tackle doesn't matter as much, but when you're playing Oregon, I mean,
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Man. You gotta start ukulele. They haven't had injuries either. The Oregon's like they don't have any. I mean, Tez is back, but they don't. They've been lucky because they just haven't had any injuries. Like now, God forbid something happens in the Washington game, but they just haven't had.
And I want to be very clear before the end of the podcast too, because someone will message me. I understand that Ohio State has 3 alphas in Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, and Emeka Egbuka. But Jeremiah Smith is a true freshman. Emeka Egbuka does have streaks where he kind of disappears. And Carnell Tate has been really good the last 4 games, but he was kind of a very above average guy before that. Oregon, all 3 of those guys have had moments where they were the number 1 guy, whether it was here or their prior school. They were all number 1 guys. Tez Johnson, I know that it was in Sunbelt school at Troy, but he's just the number 1 guy. That's all I meant. It was no disrespect to Ohio State's receivers. I know it's very, very close. It's just I do think that Oregon has the edge there, but that's really the only edge I see. Yeah,
I think you guys have
Brian
an
Wright.
running back too.
Yeah, Brian Wright's
Ohio-
Henderson.
Oh yeah, we said it at the same time. The
100%.
commenter, whoever, the Brian
I
commented.
I would take Ohio State in pretty much every other position group. Maybe
not quarterback.
I like Will Howard more than Dylan Gabriel. Well,
Really?
I think it's close.
It's close. I'll go Dylan. I trust him.
He's
Will
5'8".
Howard, I trust him more. If 2 minutes, got to have a drive, no timeouts. I'm giving Gabriel the ball every time over Will Howard. And I like Will Howard, you know that, but I'm giving Dylan Gabriel the ball every time. He can do it with his legs. He's smart. You know, he's 6 years. He's 24 years old. I mean, Will Howard's probably 24.
He also he threw 2 red zone interceptions against Boise. Was it Boise State?
One was not his fault at all. It was a miscommunication.
I don't think Will Howard has any red zone interceptions.
I would trust. Is there any quarterback you trust more, maybe outside of Shedeur and Cam, more than Dylan Gabriel? I mean, I could put him up there with them two.
I think Drew Aller gets shit on a lot. I think if Ohio State had Drew Aller, whew,
yeah, but Drew Aller at the end of the game, like, you might as well just keep Will Howard. I mean, honestly, like, Drew Aller.
I think that's coaching though. I think that you could coach Drew. I think that Penn State. I mean, if Ryan Day, if he's the quarterback whisperer, everybody thinks. Then
Drew made some throws in the USC game though, so he's impressed me. He's
insane. He's athletic. He's big.
Yeah.
He's insane. He's the most talented quarterback in the Big Ten.
But then also you got, what's there? Will I can't think of the offensive coordinator. Will Stein, right? The OC. Now I love Chip too, obviously, and Day and Coach Land. All those coaches are good. They both have good staffs. I would. Oh man, that's tough. Lanning or Day? Who would I take? I'd probably take Lanning.
I would definitely take Dan Lanning, but I would take Chip Kelly over their offensive coordinator.
Over Will Stein.
Fuck yeah. He's a former head coach in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I'm taking Chip. Well, he's a former NFL coach. He won the NFC East his first year. I mean, yeah, he's a great coach.
Technically a former NFL GM too.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Well, and obviously he coached at Oregon too, but it was great there. But yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. And then the defense is even to me. Like,
how?
It's dead even. Oh yeah,
How?
Ohio State defense is better.
Oh, dude, without question, in my eyes. I think.
I think Oregon's got more in the secondary. I think their secondary is better. I think DJ's brother, DJ Mateo, is that how you say his name? Mateo?
Yeah. Well, okay. Wait, before we start this
Mateo.
argument, I think that you can make it. I think you can make an argument that the Oregon's offensive line might be better than Ohio State's offensive line. I'd be more willing to say that Oregon's offensive line is better than Ohio State's offensive line than Dylan Gabriel over Will Howard. So I'll give you, for the sake of arguments, I'll give you Oregon's receiver group, Oregon's offensive line, and Oregon's quarterback, but nothing else.
I gave you Ohio State receiving group. But
not everything else. Ohio State all the way.
Well, if you're adding Terrence Ferguson to that receiving group, I actually have to go Oregon because he's way better than, and I love Steve Scott. I mean, Patrick Herbert is probably
way better
than Steve Scott. Yeah, he's the backup tight end. I mean, Ferguson's one of the top. I love this tight end class. He's one of the top.
He's good. He's really good. Yeah. But the defense, Oregon's defensive backs over Ohio State's defensive backs. Ohio State has Davison Igbinosun, Denzel Burke. Both those guys are going to be early round draft picks. Lathan Ransom is going to be a mid round draft pick, and then Caleb Downs. What are you doing?
Oh, Downs is the best safety in the class for next year for sure. And I'm not, Burke's top 4 corner for sure. But
Denzel
I mean,
Burke
look at Muhammad. Right?
You're
saying Jabbar Muhammad's not one of the first round talent, second round talent?
I'm saying
yeah, but Kobe Savage is great, man. And then Peyton Woodard, I know he's a true freshman, but he can play ball. I mean, he's a 5-star for a reason. Number one safety in the class last year. Peyton
I don't
Woodard.
give a shit. You're not even taking into consideration Jermaine Matthews, who started a few games when Denzel Burke was hurt. Malik Hartford, who started when Lathan Ransom was hurt. Dude, those guys are. I mean, Jermaine Matthews was a freshman All-American. He don't even fucking play. He doesn't
Brandon
even start.
Johnson.
all four of the Ohio State starting defensive backs. Oh, dude, Jordan Hancock. I forgot about Jordan Hancock, who's also going to be drafted within the first 3 rounds. All 5 of those guys, their top 5 defensive backs, are going to be drafted within the first 3 rounds.
I think you're. I don't know about top 5 on some of those guys because that kid that all the PIs, man, he can't play at that.
Davidson Igbenogson?
Yeah, he's solid, but he's not. He's like a 3rd, 4th round guy.
David Igbenogson has had a rough couple of games.
Now I don't know what class he is. I don't know if he's a junior or senior.
He's this class. He's probably gonna. I think he's a junior, right?
But he'll probably leave.
I think so.
He's good. He has the talent to be a first-round guy, but really Burke and Hancock, and then obviously Caleb Downs is freaking insane. That guy's amazing, but I know he can't.
What about Lathan Ransom?
He's solid.
Lathan Ransom is good too.
But there's guys on Oregon.
Think about that. We named the 5 guys at Ohio State. Yeah, David.
I mean, I know you're more of a smaller school guy. You watch Cam Alexander. You watch that guy play at Sam Houston. I'm sure at UTSA. Like
the fifth guy.
All I heard is these small school guys talking about Cam Alexander. Now he's moved up. This is 3rd school, but he's a good player. Jabbar Muhammad, Brandon Johnson at Duke last year, obviously coming from Oregon.
Jabbar Muhammad's very good. I don't think he would be. I don't think he'd beat out. He would maybe beat out Igbenogson. Maybe, dude. Igbenogson is the worst defensive back.
I think he starts right next to Denzel Burke, dude. Muhammad.
Chris Runyon, best safety duo. Thanks, Chris. Best safety duo in the country. Corners, though, I ride with Don. Okay, but that's a part of the defensive backs, Chris.
So that's about even too, because the Oregon is just deep, dude. I'm telling you.
Dude.
Tyler Turner is another freshman. They're a little bit younger.
American.
They're also
he was a freshman American, and he's the 6th defensive back. Dude, they're stacked.
Peyton Willard's the backup safety, and he was the number 1 safety in the class last year. He was number 10 overall, 12 overall.
He did, but
he's the backup safety.
Jermaine Matthews.
He's another Caleb Downs type of guy. Where
he's not Caleb Downs. He's not right now.
No, he's not Caleb Downs, but another number 1 safety in the class, top athlete, can do a little return action when they need him to. Not now, but he's not Caleb Downs. I'm where I lived in Georgia, dude. I watched Caleb. I'm talking about
right now. Right now, dude. The Ohio State defensive backfield. I don't think it's the best in the country by any means.
It's toe to toe. You might give Ohio State the nod, but I think it's that. Special teams, right? Fuck. Gary Bryant, Noah Whittington, returning punts. They got Atticus.
Special teams.
I'm saying it's all close. Special teams.
It depends. Caleb Downs is. Well, it's definitely close. It's definitely close. I think that's what I'm saying. I would give. Yeah, I think everything is close. I just think that I don't.
I just think Oregon is a little bit better, and mainly it's because of Dylan Gabriel, Dan Lanning, and their offensive line. Now I know your offensive line is hurt, but those dudes aren't coming back. So
even if Ohio State's offensive line was completely healthy, I would still take.
I love Simmons, and I love the kid that just got hurt that came in from Alabama, Seth Holland. Because I watched him play at Buford in high school, man. He was a truth then, and he's a damn good player. I hate that he's such a good dude. I hate he went down, but Oregon's got Connolly, great. I think
I agree with you there. Even at 100% healthy, I'm still taking Oregon's offensive line. I agree with you. I would take Oregon's offensive line. I would probably take Dylan Gabriel, gun to my head, and then I would take Oregon's receivers. Everything else,
Oregon's defensive line is a little underrated with Derek Harmon and Jameer Caldwell up front. Ware Hudson, another guy that's kind of a late bloomer. He was supposed to be good a long time ago. He's okay now. He's solid.
So you would take the Oregon defensive line over?
No, I wouldn't take Oregon's defensive line. No. I'm just saying it's close. No, because you don't have. Those guys, Jack Sawyer and JT, those guys. No. I would take
Tyleik Williams, Ty Hamilton. Tyleik Williams is, phenomenal.
Tyleik Williams, yeah.
Ty Hamilton's been good.
Yeah.
Then they moved Edric Houston, another number 1 recruit.
I will say that Oregon is not deep on the defensive line.
Fuck no.
And now linebackers, I will give Ohio State to. Not even really close. Because if you're going to beat Oregon, it's Oregon around that middle of the field, and they're young at linebacker. Because this Oregon team, I said they're young. I didn't mean they're literally young. A lot of their starters are seniors, especially those grad transfers. But they're kind of young in that linebacker area to me.
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
they're starting two sophomores and a senior at linebacker.
Yeah, and Cody Simon is legit good. And Sonny Styles is an absolute physical freak, and he's improving. He was really bad early on, but he's improving. He hasn't had a bad game in probably 4 weeks. CJ Hicks is also – he blitzes – he's a very strong blitzer. They've benched him. He's no longer starting. Former 5-star who's a very strong blitzer.
Josh, I forgot. I didn't mention Dante Manning or Roderick Pleasant. Roderick Pleasant's another 5-star from a couple years ago. Ohio State recruited him. You know about him.
They're all 5-stars. Both teams have all 5-stars. Like the recruiting thing, it's like
they do. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But
they're all 5-stars.
They're all 5. Yeah, they're all.
You know, like if you want,
Ohio State probably has a little bit more 5-stars.
If you want to play that game, Ohio State's got Aaron Scott and Bryce West, who were number 1, 2 cornerbacks in last year's class, sitting the fucking bench. They're third stringers.
No, that's what I'm saying. Ohio State probably has more 5-stars because Oregon has a couple guys.
Yeah.
Oregon got a couple, like I mentioned, Brandon Johnson. That guy wasn't really recruited coming out of, he went to Duke first. And Kobe Savage, look at that guy. He's one of those like self-made.
Yeah, Bryce West was like he was a 5-star corner. He's not even sniffing the field.
I will say this too about Oregon, not to give them too much credit. They are a tad bit undersized, which has kind of always been a bugaboo, I guess, for Oregon. They got bigger. They're a little bit beefier than the most, like those Chip Kelly and Mark Helfrich's old teams. They're not that small because they used to get ran on all the time, but they're way more physical now. But they're still a little bit small. They still have a little bit of that Pac-12 defense in them, a little bit. And Ohio State,
dude. And Ohio State's defensive backs, they're all over 5'10". They're all pretty good size. I mean, Davidson Moson's big. I didn't even mention Lorenzo Styles Jr., who's also been playing pretty well. He's also a reserve that goes.
I'm giving you that because they have guys that Kobe Savage is about 5'10", 5'11". Brandon Johnson's probably about 5'9". He's a little bit undersized.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Jabbar Muhammad, he's about 180, 5'11". He's got just slender.
And he's their best guy by far. He's their best.
Yeah, he's a cover corner. Now he'll get in there and try to tackle and be feisty a little bit, but he's just not Denzel Burke built. Wise,
I would take Denzel Burke over him 9 times out of 10. I think after it's all said, Denzel Burke got shit on after the Oregon game, and I
Burke
get that.
I think Jabbar Muhammad is just such a better. I think he's a better athlete than Denzel Burke. Like he's gonna run his combine. He's a combine freak type of guy to me.
We'll see, because I think Denzel Burke's gonna blow it up at the combine.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I don't. You would know more than me. You're at those games. You've seen these guys up in.
I think Denzel Burke got shit on because he had a sophomore slump, and he also got shit on because of the Oregon game where they left him on a fucking island with no safety help. And I don't think either of those things. I don't think either of those things are his fault. I think at the end of the day, he's going to go down. He'll go down in history as one of the best cornerbacks in Ohio State history. I think.
A lot of football especially if you win a national championship. Yeah.
Well, if they play Oregon and he gets dominated again, well, then I won't. But I think because Denzel Burks, he started for 4 years. He was a freshman All-American. He's been an All. He's been really good all 4 years. A
lot of that is scheme. That wasn't his fault. I mean, when you have receivers like that at Oregon, like they have those big. Now that's something they're big and physical at receiver. Like they're built. Better than anybody at receiver. I mean, up to like you said.
And all 3 of them are like that. All 3 of the Oregon receivers are like that. All 3 of them are
those strong. 2 bookend tackles, Cornelius and Connolly Jr. are super duper athletes and big dudes. I wish Connolly would get a little bit bigger, but they're super athletes, super big guys. And in the middle, they're good. They got a lot of seniors and grads. I mean, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm sure we'll talk about that game next week because it's already locked in. So yeah, it's gonna. But hey, Oregon's got to take care of business. And Michigan's got to. It's not Michigan. Ohio State's got to take care of business versus Michigan. But I think that both will do it. Like we both picked them, so
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and shut it down. Donovan, where can they find your work? What's going on?
Yeah, find me on Twitter or X, I guess now, at Don James Sports. The name remains the same, and then just Hoosiers State of Mind, Jags Wire, all that good stuff. Yeah, Hoosiers fans, don't be too down. Jags fans, be very down, but Hoosiers fans, don't be down. I guess Jags fans should be happy. They might be getting the first overall pick, possibly, or trading.
No shit.
Somebody that wants a quarterback,
No
yeah. But you still have Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, so sorry. But Hoosiers fans, yeah, man, just win and you're in. Beat Purdue. They still got a – no, I looked at their chance to get in at 79.5% right now. But if they win, it goes up to 99.1% if they beat Purdue. So they're a lock to be in, just because so much chaos happened.
That's true.
If they now, I mean, I would hope they beat Purdue, just take care of them. But I got something cooking up over there. Trying to see. I got an interview hopefully with Aiden Fisher after the regular season's over. So that would be after obviously next week. Signetti doesn't like his guys to do too many interviews during the season, unless they're with like direct media, like Hoosier Huddle and all that stuff. So, but I reached out to him. Obviously probably should have been a Buckeyes nominee. He's not, he wasn't a finalist, but I think he's had a good year. Obviously had a bad game last week, but a big Aiden Fisher fan, so hopefully something cooking up with him. But other than that, yeah, just follow me on X there at Don James Sports. And thank you so much to Josh Keeley, by the way, for the interviews last week. It was fun. Everybody liked it.
Man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. Anytime you can follow my work. At Buckeyes Wire. Follow my X account at Josh Keatley 16. Definitely check out Chris too at Chris Runyon 15, I think. Chris can correct me on that. Big shout out to Chris, who is our producer. Big shout out to you guys. Last week's video had 87 views. We are up to 31 subscribers. I'm pretty. I know those numbers. They sound pretty small in the grand scheme of it, but they're not for us. So I do appreciate that. If you guys can we're on Spotify now as well. So keep subscribing, keep reviewing, keep thumbs up and OH.
IO.